Hello everyone, and welcome to the crisp and cool Sabi Sands. We are here on Djuma and Arathusa private game reserves, and as you would have seen, we've found some giraffe. It's a beautiful, beautiful setting with the sun rising up, and I've just seen there's a second giraffe that's slowly going to make its way also across the rising sunlight, and we are going to get some great opportunities for some awesome screenshots, so get ready to fire away. Like I said, there is another one approaching the sunrise. Now, my name is Scott, for those of you who have never met me before, and I'm teamed up with Brian on camera today. James is out in another vehicle with Andrew, and they are going in search of a report of the Styx lion and the Matimba lion heading towards Djuma from Arathusa. So some good prospects there from the get-go, and here comes the giraffe. Let's take a closer look. This is going to be awesome. Wow. And we only a couple of 100 meters away from the final control room where Nikki and Louise are helping get the show out to you and choosing between which vehicle to broadcast from, either this one, which you're currently with, or with James. So that's what they're doing in the final control room, and we're just a few 100 meters away from them. It was 2 male giraffes. There was a third, and they appear to be following 2 females quite closely, so maybe one of those females is in season, as the males are all following very keenly in the direction that the females headed off in. They've got an incredibly long gestation period, so they don't really plan too often to give birth in the first rains of summer around October or November, which is what a lot of the herbivores will do. But for those with very long gestation periods, like the giraffe, we've got 450-day gestation periods, and animals like elephants, they don't really plan too well for giving birth at specific times, and because of that reason they could well be in season right now. Beautiful. Well, I'm already told that a lot of you are sending through comments and feedback to how beautiful that scene was that we just enjoyed. So thank you very much for sending those comments and feedback through, but it's not over yet. Brian's about to show you the rising sun, and what a morning it's been so far. Now, for those of you who may be joining for the first time, I must let you know also how to send through comments and questions, and it's very easy. On Twitter you would hashtag Safari Live, and on email you send it through to questions@WildEarthTV, and that way we can interact and get an idea of what you're feeling. And we really do appreciate any of your comments. Tell us what time of day it is, where you're watching from, We really do enjoy knowing that there's people watching, but to know exactly where you are around the world and what time zone you're in really does make it interesting for us. So let us know, and good to have you with us for those of you who are joining for the first time. The good news is there's a few other animals nearby that I'd like to show you. So let's continue and have a quick look at, looks like some zebra stallions, but as I said, we should go and look at them. I've seen they've started trotting off in the wrong direction, so it might not work out as well as initially planned. My plans for the morning are to take you all in search of Shadow and her cub Sindile. We haven't found them for quite some time, and this will be my last drive and Nikki's last show that she's directing, as we are heading off on a 2-week leave today. And I'd really love to see Shadow and Sindile, or either one of them, just before I head off. I know Nikki would probably like to see Quarantine. That's one of her favorite leopards, or one of the big males. And we don't have any major reports on either Shadow or Sindile. Here are the stallions that I was hoping to show you. We're just going to get a rear end view, but while we take a look at the rear, notice how different the stripes are on all of their bottoms. It's quite a nice view in order to be able to really notice how different their stripes can be. The one closest to us looks to have much thicker stripes, and the one in the middle a few thinner stripes towards the rump. We can tell that they're stallions because where their rumps meet, it's white on white. There's no vertical black strip which the females will have between their buttocks. And you would have also noticed that they're not perfectly symmetrical. Even though at a glance you may assume them to be symmetrical, it is not the case most of the time. Great, well at least we got a glimpse of them. And like I was saying, we don't have any major reports of any leopard movements so far this morning. So what we'll do is we'll just head off into the last general area where I did have some tracks of a female leopard who I think was Shadow, and it's up in the northwestern corner of Djuma. What I love about the mornings is there's so much unknown, and even though we may choose to head off into any given area in the hope of finding a certain animal, we can often get very pleasantly surprised by finding tracks of another animal, or even just bumping into an entirely different animal that we can enjoy viewing. It's about 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit this morning. So not too cold. It's been colder. Last week we've had a few chilly mornings, but this morning's a bit better, which is great. I must also inform all of you that we had the great pleasure of meeting some of our viewers, and it's the most awesome thing to finally get to meet some of you guys after answering so many of your questions. And it was Val from California and one of our Zoomies called Cam who came and had a look at the vehicles just before we headed out, and we spent some time chatting with them, which was really wonderful to put a face to the names we so often deal with. And please make sure you do contact us if you are ever in this area, because we will certainly make sure to arrange a visit to meet up. Okay, well, while we get closer into the area where I did last have tracks of Shadow, we're going to send you back to James, and we're just going to stop here and actually listen for a few moments and see if the bush can tell us any signs or signals of where the animals be while you do head across to James. Enjoy. If you haven't met him, he's a hell of a character, and we will see you all a little bit later.
I want to carry on and follow the line. Hello. I'm afraid I lost my radio there for a second. How are you all? I hope you're all having a marvelous time wherever you happen to be in the world. My name is James Hendry. I'm not always this gormless. I try to be a little bit more cognizant of what's going on around me, but my radio did happen to malfunction slightly. On camera today we have Andrew. Hello, Andrew.
Hello.
Andrew is dressed in an astonishing array of various colours. Socks that look like he stole them off a clown, and a ruff that he looks like he stole off a skateboarding child. Anyway, that's not what we pay him for. We pay him for his skills on the camera, and he is most welcome. Please remember, we do love to hear from you. Any questions you have, hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV, and I'm sure Scott said to you, you are on a live morning game drive, and that was the African sun that you saw, beautiful African sun just popping up over the eastern horizon before the camera turned to my ugly mug. Just a quick shout out to the wonderful viewers who we met yesterday, Cam and Valerie, and of course Velma the gloves. Thank you very much for them. I now have 2 matching gloves, which is of course extremely good here in the middle of the winter, although today is a very balmy day. My plan today is to follow up on a male lion track that I had. We are unfortunately quite close to the southern boundary, and for those of you who perhaps don't know, we operate on about 1,500 hectares of what is the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, part of which is the Kruger. And there are no boundaries that the animals have to obey, but there are boundaries that we as human beings are not able to cross. And so this male lion is sort of heading south-southeast, and if he goes over the southern boundary, we obviously can't follow him. I'm not sure where he's gone. He came down to a little waterhole here sometime last night, and I'm just trying to find the tracks now. So that's the excitement for the morning. Big male lion, and we'll see if we can't find him. We're going to just do a little U-turn, drive along here a bit and see if he doesn't pop out, and if he does, then we'll follow him. Otherwise we'll come back along this road and see if his tracks don't pop out. If they don't pop out, he's probably in the bush here. I think the tracks are from early last night, which means that, you know, lions do move big distances during the night time, so he might not actually be around. Okay, good, off we go. Ooh, hang on a second. I'm just going to get a quick update from Brent, if you don't mind. He is out driving, and he says he's got tracks heading in the direction where they were. Brent, did you copy Brent? Brent is out trying to track something. Good morning, Brent. I believe you have male lion tracks. He speaks to me. Confirm single male. Okay, copy. I've got single male here at Twin Dams Road. Not Twin Dams Road, at Treehouse Dam. I'm going to continue following these just in case they're not the same. There's definitely only one here. Right, so that was Brent. Off to the east of here, trying to follow up on some lions. We're going to do the same sort of thing. Postulation, he's got more than one. And what's interesting is that the Birmingham males were around here. They're a coalition of 5 males who are sort of threatening to take over the area. And this one that I've got here, I think, is one of the dominants. There are 2 of them called the Matimba males, which means strength in Shangaan. And I think this is one of them here that's been walking down here. So that's the plan. I may be entirely wrong, but that's perhaps what's going on here. Andrew, are you ready?
Yes.
Oh, good. So I tell you, a male lion track in the winter is normally not too difficult to follow, because they are quite heavy and the sand is quite easy. So this junction is quite important. He was coming down from the dam there towards where we are now. Andrew, keep your eyes peeled and go to sleep on the back there. To be fair, the first person to spot them was Andrew this morning, which of course makes me feel rather emasculated, but anyway. As you can see, some of you who are our regular viewers will have noticed that I haven't really had gloves for this year. I've borrowed and stolen from Viam and Brent and Scott, and Username thinks it'll be interesting to see how long I manage to keep these ones. I think I'm going to keep them some time. They're rather splendid. Right, so I'm going to check every little game path that comes in from here and just check that he hasn't crossed out. His general direction was there, but he didn't pop out at that junction. Oh, here we go. Something from Brent. Stand by. Go ahead, Brent. He's speaking with me now. Copy, thanks. He's got tracks of 2 male lions crossing to the south. So it doesn't look very promising, I'm afraid. It sounds like he has crossed out of the property. So we may give up on this malarkey. What we're going to do is go out onto the cut line, with the southern cut line, and we're going to head east and just see if this fellow is the same. I suspect what's happened is that maybe he's joined up with another one. It's not the 5 Birmingham boys that Brent was following, so I think this is probably the Djuma timber males. That said, there were reports from Arathusa that there were others coming this way, so we'll try and get an update around there as well. It is a remarkably beautiful morning, not very cold, and Andrew and I were just commenting on the magnificence of it before we came across to you. Make sure I'm still plugged in. Don't want any other awkward silences like we had earlier. Right. No, he's definitely not popped out onto this road. So what I suspect he did was probably go down the drainage line there towards Twin Dams. Let's just have a stop and a listen quickly. Now what I want you to listen to, please, there are a whole lot of fork-tailed drongos calling, and what we must do now over the course of the next few weeks, it's now August, which here is basically the beginning of the warmer season, and I think we're going to find that each morning the birds are going to get slightly louder and slightly louder, because in the winter it's the dawn chorus is not so much a chorus, as I've said before. It's more a small quartet or quintet. And at the moment it's pretty silent. So just remember the silence of the morning, and I think it will start to build slowly as we go towards spring. And some of the migrants, the thing to look out for now that we're into August, is that some of the migrant birds are going to start to return. And I think the first one we're going to see is the Wahlberg's eagle. He comes from somewhere in North Africa, and I think they will be the first ones that we'll start to see probably in the next week or so, which will be exciting. So just drongos calling at the moment, and the odd dove, sort of with their kind of ethereal call out in the distance. Okay, let's carry on. And then we had the other thing, of course, is that a great herald of the summer is the barn swallow. And James Bear yesterday said that he would like us to look out for them, which of course we will. I think they'll come back a little later than the Wahlbergs, but they'll definitely be on their way from England and various parts of Europe. I think our swallows go to France. I don't know that any of the English ones actually make it all the way down here. I think the English ones stop probably just a bit further north of us, probably in sort of southern to central Africa, I think. It's a quite astonishing thing, migration of little birds like swallows over the distance that we as people have only mastered, well, certainly flight-wise, in the last 100 years. So lots of tracks all over the road, and the road is really the sort of newspaper of the night. No one's been moving around in vehicles, and we've got lots of zebra, impala, what else, Andrew? Buffalo, civet, lots of birds. Well, they're probably from this morning, but thank you for your contribution. There are some impala. Quite interesting. Andrew, do you see how dark their skin is? Why do you suppose that is?
Palo erection.
Yes. That's absolutely correct, yes. Yes. Right, now you can be quiet, otherwise you make me look bad. So, let's just look at those ones over there, if you don't mind. There's not too much trouble. What Andrew's talking about there is the standing up of the skin. Now, if you look at them, they look like they're quite a lot darker than they do normally. And that's because of the chill. I mean, it's really not very cold this morning. But that they stick the hair up, and it traps. There's two of them having a fight there. I'll move there now. They put their hair up and trap extra air under the fur, and what that does is make them warm. It's a bit like a bird that cuts its feathers out. I'm just going to go a little bit forward, just behind that bush there, Andrew. There are two males having a bit of a box, a bit of a contretemps. I'm not sure why they have to do it behind that bush. Just while we wait, those two males were having a bit of a fight. We'll just keep watching them. Andrew, do you see the ones I mean? That's it, those are them. And while we talk about the temperature, which is now probably sitting at around I'd say sort of 16, 17 degrees in Celsius. We've got a question from Charlene in Minnesota who says, how long is our winter? And our winter is, she says the winter there is about 6 months long. Charlene, ours is no longer than 3 months. As you saw, May is the sort of start-ish of it. So halfway through May, I'd say, to halfway through August is basically that's when it's cold. We do have a prolonged dry season though, which is different. So while the weather is not nearly as cold as it is for you up in the northern hemisphere, and certainly in Minnesota, which I believe is freezing, we certainly have a prolonged dry season which will go probably until November. So remember, the limiting factor out here for the biology is not so much the temperature, but a lack of water. So we don't have animals that hibernate specifically, we have animals that estivate, and that basically means they go into the same sort of state of temporary dormancy like a hibernating animal would, but they do that because of the water loss and because of the water shortage rather than because of a lack of heat and snow covering the ground. Of course, we don't ever get snow. There's no Shangaan word for snow as far as I'm aware, so that just tells you how mild our winters are compared with yours. Apparently it's 11 degrees. That is a foul and contemptible lie from the South African Weather Service. There's no way it's 11 degrees. There's a very warm wind kind of blowing through here. So this is where the cheetah were yesterday. I don't know if you were lucky enough to be on drive yesterday with Brent and Jamie. They had some wonderful cheetah around here, and this is exactly here. And these impala were alarm calling at them for a time, and then they stopped because the cheetah didn't see them or chose not to harass them, and they've moved off to the far east now. And by that I don't mean China, I mean Torchwood. Right, on we go. Our first marvellous mammal of the day. Highly underrated is the impala, just because he's common. And by common I mean abundant, not in character, of course. Right, so we are now approaching the southern boundary. And just to make this a little bit clearer for those of you who perhaps it's quite difficult to envisage if you don't come from this area, this road that we've come onto now is a boundary that we cannot cross, but that the animals are clearly free to do, and they don't seem to know the difference between the two. Unfortunately, it'd be nice if the lions decided they'd rather stay with us. They don't always. So they're on a reserve just to the south here. So we're going to go off towards Aratuza, where there were some reports of other lions this morning, and we'll see what we can find there. Okay, on we go. And this morning, Andrew, would you mind just sticking your camera up at that orb, that satellite of ours? And there is the moon, of course. And we just have a quick look at it. It is now waning, which means it's getting smaller. Well, it's actually not changing in size at all. It's just the shadow of the Earth that's making it look smaller. Andrew, don't worry, it's not actually disappearing. And this morning when I woke up at 0500, the whole sort of Leopard was bathed in a dim bluish hue from the moon, and it's always such a kind of eerie, wonderful way to wake up when the morning has the moon like that. How so, Andrew?
Wonderful.
Take your ruff off your face, then you'll be able to breathe. No tracks along the road as yet. I'm going to drive a little bit faster, try and get towards Arethusa. And if you are perhaps a new viewer, we love to have you along. What I mean by Arethusa is the reserve to the west of us, which is 600 hectares that we're allowed to traverse on. We go across there quite a lot. My earpiece is coming clean out of my ear now. Andrew? You see what I'm looking at?
Yeah.
That is a dwarf mongoose, everybody. And he's just sitting in the first rays of the day. They love to do that, the dwarf mongoose. He's just spotted us. So I think there was a little, just to give you an update on last night. Just to give you an update, while we're looking at that mongoose, dwarf mongoose, I think there was a question from Kevin about those cheetah that we had last night. They didn't kill, certainly not on Djuma. The moon, look at those birds, all of those beautiful birds up there. Andrew's just going to find them for you. There's some green pigeons and some grey go-away birds. And the cheetah, basically on a dark night like last night, would have struggled to hunt. So they probably would have gone to ground at some stage. 2 male cheetah, and we don't know where they are now, but they headed east onto Torchwood, which is east of us, and they'll probably start hunting again. Now, as I was saying about the moon earlier this morning, they will hunt in the moonlight if it's bright, and it was certainly bright this morning. So when that moon sort of reached its apex at around about probably 4:30 or 5 this morning, they would have possibly got up to go hunting. But they won't hunt in the pure darkness. It's very unlikely for them to do that. So there's a green pigeon in there. That is a grey go-away bird that Andrew's showing you now, in amongst the jackalberry leaves. It is very difficult to film birds, of course, because they tend to be a bit like Brent Leo Smith in that they move around constantly. There are also some starlings. I wonder if there isn't, this tree might be coming into some sort of fruit. I can't see any fruit on it, but it's possible that it's just starting to form the buds of the fruit. Yes, I can see 1 or 2. You won't be able to pick them up with the camera, but that's why these birds are here. The lories love to eat fruit. Anyway, while they frolic around in this marvelous jackalberry tree, which has managed to maintain its leaves through the winter, we're going to head across to the inimitable Scott Dyson. He is on his last game drive, of course, before he goes on leave. So enjoy. He's just going to give you an update. I know he was off the vehicle tracking something. He'll tell you what it was and whether or not he's found it. And I'll see you a little bit later, probably on Arethusa. See you just now.
Welcome back, everyone. And no sign of any leopard yet, specifically Shadow and Cub, who we were hoping to find tracks of this morning. But that's not a problem, and it's actually good news, I guess, for them. Maybe they've been successful in making a kill, or at least Shadow was successful in making a kill, and now they may be feeding on it in their own company. Maybe there are a few hyena lurking about, but I'm guessing that's why we haven't found any of their tracks moving out of the area where we last had them. It means there's probably a kill somewhere that we were just not able to locate. Interesting that the jackalberry trees are already beginning to bear tiny little berries that you saw starlings and go-away birds and African green pigeons feeding on with James. And I actually had a similar encounter with go-away birds in a jackalberry just a few minutes ago. I heard quite a lot of rustling and I could see movements in the tree, and I wasn't sure exactly what it was. I was hoping it was either Shadow or Sindile up in the tree feeding. So I got off the vehicle and crept up, only to find go-away birds hopping from branch to branch in those thick trees. So they're enjoying feeding on them. And the other day I saw about 30 or 40 go-away birds all in one tree feeding simultaneously. It was incredible to see that many together, and also to hear them all calling quang, quang, quang. And on cue there's another jackalberry tree, but there's two. There's one higher up, and you can see all the berries of the jackalberry within this tree, and that's what they're feeding on. Just going to have a quick chat with James and see what his plans are. I think we both thought about heading across to Arethusa, but only one of us can, and I think we'll let him go ahead there. Morning, James, go ahead. I don't have any tracks, James, so if you want to continue, that's no problem at all. I'm probably going to turn around and take Balanatis back into Djuma. I'm just south of that on Triple M. Okay, so James and I are just fine-tuning the plans there. And this must be a very welcome food source, because there are not many berries or fruits around at this time of the year. And I guess some of them may be ripening early. You can see quite a few berries in this tree, but they're specifically targeting, in all likelihood, the most ripe of these berries, which will continue to ripen as it gets closer to our summer months. But a wonderful winter pantry for the go-away birds, as well as the other fruit-eating birds like the African green pigeons. Civets and other animals will also feed on these berries, and even jackals, hence the name jackalberry tree, or ebony tree is another name that it's called. But you do get quite a few carnivores that are actually omnivorous. I've just seen a crested barb that's also getting involved in the action here, another fruit-eating bird. But again, omnivorous, it will feed on also small insects and bugs when there's not enough fruit around. Well, Ephraim and Craig, two of the guides from Cheetah Plains to the east of us, are enjoying a wonderful morning with the two male cheetah that we got to spend time with yesterday. But sadly they are further east of us and north of us, so we can't go there. And for those of you who are new to the show, it's important to realize that the boundaries that we talk of are merely roads, and it's very important that the guides do not have complete free rein everywhere, because that way it would be a little bit difficult to manage. And it's important for us not to have too many vehicles in any given place. In a sighting like this, please apologies, I can't see exactly what Brian's filming, so I don't have a clue exactly what you're seeing, but it sounds like you're getting some great shots. My monitor is not working. Have you seen the crested barbet there, Brian? It might be quite a good spot. This crested barbet's in a really good little position for us to show you some action shots as it attempts to pluck the... Oh! Slowly. That wasn't very kind, Mr. Go-Away Bird. There's more than enough berries on this tree. But size matters out here. And it's actually feeding on the exact same berry that the crested barbet was attempting to feed on. Let's watch closely. These crested barbets can be quite feisty. And let's see if it puts up a fight against the much larger Go-Away Bird. And it sounds like Brian's getting you some wonderful close-up shots. You could even see the pink in the mouth earlier. I find it remarkable how well these large birds can clamber through the branches without getting caught up and tangled. Excuse me. Now these birds aren't making too much noise now, but if they were, the go-away birds would be ringing out quack, quack, and the crested barbet would let off a trill, almost alarm clock. So there are two characteristic calls of the low-felt bush, and Catherine, all the way in Texas, would like to know which bird makes the prettiest song or call. Now, that, Catherine, will be entirely dependent on the individual's opinion. I love the call of the African green pigeon. It's a very difficult one to make, but I'll have a crack at it. It kind of goes, kuruk, 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 kuruk. Not exactly like that, but there's a vague resemblance from my impersonation to theirs. And another wonderful noise of the summer months that we can look forward to hearing is the woodland's kingfisher. And I know James was talking about migratory birds earlier. And the woodland's kingfisher is one of the sounds of the low-felt bush. And its call rings out, chick, brrr. So that's one to look forward to, along with many, about 200 birds will fly in from far and wide, some from further north in Africa, but some from Asia, Russia, Europe, almost doubling our bird population in this area. There's about 280 birds roughly during the winter months and about 480 roughly during the summer months. So quite remarkable how many birds will travel for many, many thousands of miles to get here. Let's see if we hear some calls now. There was one or two of them starting to think about calling, and if they all get going, it'll make for... Come on, guys, get excited. They're flying backwards and forwards from almost the same two perches, one from this jackalberry tree and then down into a marula that you probably can't see too well because it's hidden by the jackalberry in the foreground. But great that you could hear a portion of the call that they use to communicate with one another, not the typical quang, but that chip, 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 chip that we got to hear now. And a lot of birds will not only have one set call, there will be variations and slightly different calls depending on what exactly they're trying to say to one another. Well, thanks so much to Curious One and Bianca, who are sending through comments of how much they're loving the sighting and how impressed they are with Brian's camera work. And I must say, I'm very jealous that I don't have a monitor to see exactly what Brian is showing you. The incredible zoom on this little camera really must be getting you some great shots, along with obviously Brian's handiwork on the camera. And as wonderful as this sighting is, we are going to send you across to James because he might have something that you would all be interested in seeing. We'll wait and see, but head on over and make a decision for yourself, and we'll see you all a little bit.
Hello everybody, we're back, the two lions. We've managed to find very exciting sticks, a huge male lion and a female, and they've just got up and moved. Sorry, we're going to just try and get a view. They are in the throes of passion, of course, and they have been for the last few days. Just try and get to a position where we can see them. They're being a bit discreet about it today, which they're not normally. Oh, he's now marking his territory there. Sorry, Andrew. Hang on a sec. It's awkward in here. Okay, I think that's where we're going to stop for now, Andrew. I will move this now. So you can see they're right on the main road at a junction here. Oh, listen to him growling. He's growling. I think don't go behind that car, please, lion. I wonder if she hasn't had enough, if her estrus cycle is perhaps coming to an end. I'm going to try and move a little bit forward. Right, Andrew. So he's basically, what he's doing is he's trying to entice her to mate again. But I think, they've been at it, for want of a more delicate term, for the last, 5 or 6 days. And I think especially yesterday morning there was high action, and he was required to perform with a great sterling stoicism. I wonder now if her estrus cycle hasn't come to an end, and if she isn't perhaps tired of his attentions. She certainly looks like she's had it. It's a magnificent male lion. This, he really is a beautiful brute. He's right in his prime. So we can see them sitting on the road there. And certainly when we... Oh, bless you, my dear. When we found the first tracks this morning, and I say we, Andrew actually spotted them, the first tracks of that male lion, they were on a road. And Ian Smith, you want to know, basically, do they do that commonly, or do they avoid the road to avoid human contact? Most commonly, Ian, they actually use the roads. They quite like the roads because they're just same as us. It's easier to walk without the bushes and without the wetness of a dewy, grassy spot. So they do like to use the roads. And one exception seems to be the cheetah. And as Brent discovered yesterday, sorry, I'm going to try and move. He's marking his territory there. You can see he's marking territory. So Ian, the cheetah yesterday walked a huge distance and they didn't use one road at all, which was quite interesting. Okay, Andrew, we're going to have to do a bit of a loop around here. I'm afraid. No, they're moving. Sorry. Here they come. Sorry, everybody, these lions are being particularly irksome in terms of what they're prepared to do. That's a very artistic shot that we've got because I parked Andrew basically in a tree. I'm sorry, okay, one of them's sitting down. Yeah, I think we're going to move. One of them has sat down right behind one of these vehicles. Oh, I'm really getting a little bit of a rough time. Is that alright? That's good. Yeah, let's just stop here and look. So he's marking his territory again, and she is, often the females are the ones that, with these big cats, that instigate the mating procedure. Every time she moves, he wants to move with her, but then she lies down, and I think she's possibly coming to the end of estrus. He's a beautiful male lion. Look at him. Ooh. Alright, so perhaps I'm just going to give you a little recap for those of you who don't know the lion dynamics of the area. And I mean, we are often a little confused ourselves, but this is pretty obvious. What's going on here is that female you're looking at now is part of a pride called the Styx breakaway from a larger pride called the Styx pride. Consists of 2 females and 3 cubs. The other female and her cubs are away from here right now, and they are I think they're on another reserve with the other Matimba male. Now the male that you can see is part of the dominant coalition of 2, and there were 5 of them. In fact, I think there were 6 at one stage, but there are 3 remaining from the coalition. They're now called the Northern Coalition, I think, and they knock about in the Manyeleti, which is north of the Sabi Sand, where we are now. I can try and draw you a map a bit later. And these 2 are looking after this area to the south, Djuma, Arathusa, and the area down into Maramala, and Londolozi, which is just to the south of here. And that's basically what these 2 are dominating. And there are 3 prides in their territory. And they will sometimes withdraw away from the pride in order to mate, which seems to be what's happened here. And obviously there's very hungry work, all of this mating. 5 days of solid loving, I suppose you'd call it. And Jill, you want to know on Twitter, have they been on a kill? We haven't seen them on a kill, Jill, but I know that they have moved quite substantially, and I suspect what you'll find is that they've picked up the odd small thing to eat on the way, They certainly don't look very skinny, so they probably have eaten a little bit. Andrew, I'm just going to back in there a bit. I think maybe you get a better shot. Do you think?
Yeah.
Very awkward for Andrew today. I don't want to do that, camera fellows. I'll start ignoring you and filming you when you're not looking your best. That's all right. So, while we look at this, and while we're considering the fate of lions in general in the area, I've mentioned the Birmingham Coalition, which is a coalition of 5 males that are in and around this area now, trying to sort of think about taking over the pride. And Kerry, you want to know what would happen if she was to give birth and the Birmingham boys were to take over the area. Well, immediately what would happen is they would definitely kill the cubs. That's precisely what would happen. It does open up a whole lot of other questions, though. And these are questions to do with lion dynamics and basically what's going to happen later on. And what you find is that a male like this is much more experienced than the 5 youngsters that are going to come in here. And because of that, they will be reticent to take too many chances with him. And the two Matimba males will manage to hold off 5 of the others for some time. I'd say that they're at the height of their powers now, maybe just starting to come off. And so while their days are numbered, they could be here another year. Now, that's interesting because the cubs are born. They will survive if they get to almost a year and then the new males take over. If they're younger than a year, they'll normally be killed or taken out. And what's interesting then is that she will come into estrus again. Let's pretend the cubs get killed. She will come into estrus again, but it's often a false estrus. So she kind of lures in the males that are the new males in the area. They mate, and then she doesn't fall pregnant because she doesn't know how long they're going to hang around for. It's quite an interesting phenomenon that happens. And I think it happens with leopard as well. I think it happens with various species, but lions it's the most obvious. She comes into false estrus. She mates with the new males because there's no point in her falling pregnant if it turns out that they're not going to be strong enough to hold a territory. And so that's what would happen. That's basically what I think is going to happen. Now, that prediction has probably got a 50% chance of being correct because we just don't know. Out here, there are hundreds of guides driving around right now throwing out wild predictions about what's going to happen based on their thorough knowledge of the textbooks. But as a friend of mine says, the animals don't generally read the textbooks and they behave in very different ways quite a lot. We're just going to quickly nip across to Scott. These lions ain't going nowhere and we'll sit around with them for a bit longer. Scott's got something exciting to show you quickly, so we'll nip across to him and I'll see you just now.
Welcome back and well done to James on finding those lion for you. We found this lone buffalo bull walking through one of the vistas here at Djuma. It is such a great view from out here. Look at how dry and dusty it is. Each time his hoof touches the ground, kicks up a puff of dust. Look at that. They're such powerful animals. and just thought we'd enjoy sharing a slightly different view and scene. But we're going to send you back to the lions. We don't want to let you miss any action that could potentially unfold there, and we will be sure to let you know if we find anything else along the way. Enjoy, and see you later.
Hello everybody, welcome back again. Hope you enjoyed that marvellous view that we get out here. Really is one of the main reasons that I live out here. Quite apart from the magnificent wildlife, I really do enjoy the views. So this we were just asked had they eaten, and now that we've got a bit closer, I would say to you that they probably haven't. They both look a little skinny, and as you can see, they both look extremely exhausted by the strains of the last 5 days. In fact, I think it's been almost a week, you know. So you can see he's a little bit skinny, which is totally normal, of course. But he's still in excellent condition, really beautiful condition. We'll just wait for this other vehicle to move before I hold forth again. She's just watching the vehicle go off, and she's the one that actually looks thinner, I think, than the other two, than the other one, sorry. Yeah, she does look quite skinny, so perhaps they haven't eaten much during the last week or so. And just on the subject of them, you know, they're eating and whether they will or won't eat during the sort of mating time. Velma, you want to know, will they eat at all during mating? And Velma, the answer is lions will always eat if the opportunity arises. And remember, they live in a pride structure, so while they might not hunt, if the pride is nearby, and they certainly have been near the pride while they've been mating, if the pride is nearby, they will certainly share a kill and leap in on any meat that they can. They'll be very hungry now. So absolutely, Velma, they will certainly eat if they can. I don't think it's the major priority at the moment. Andrew, can you get in on the claws there that seem to be... Are they sticking out? Let's see where they come from there. Now those claws are just like your house cat's claws in that they're sheathed.
Were you covering the shot?
Sorry about that. Sorry you got the back of my head in there. I was trying to see with my powerful binoculars. Those claws, of course, will have done damage during the course of the last week because she can be quite nasty to the male. When he dismounts, it's often quite sore for her, and she'll flick around and swat him with those claws extended. He doesn't look to have taken too much of a beating, though, and that is quite, I mean, that's totally normal, of course. And just a nice comparison between the size of the paws of these lions compared with those on a cheetah. And I think often it's quite difficult to appreciate the difference in size between the two animals unless you actually see them standing next to each other. And that obviously doesn't ever happen unless the lion happens to be murdering the cheetah. And so if we come back a little bit, Andrew, the size of a cheetah's foot, is probably about that big. You got that?
Yeah.
That's a pretty big cheetah's foot. He's going to try again. And a lion's foot is the size of my hand. Bigger than my hand. Like that. Maybe I'm incorrect, and maybe they will try again. Round number 746. Right, let's quickly follow up, because they may go on to, I'm right in the corner of the reserve where we're allowed to traverse. Good morning, everyone. Oh, here we go. Action stations, Andrew. Isn't that a blood-curdling sound that they make? They really are quite voyeuristic, being out here on the major road junction. Now, to me, that wasn't quite as enthusiastic as it has been before. Marvelous. And she didn't seem to be too upset when he climbed off and didn't take a swat at him. She just kind of groaned, lay on her back, and is now recumbent again.
Beautiful, big, thick mane, which acts like almost like a body armor when fighting against other lions. It makes it difficult for them to fight.
He's a magnificent beast, he really is. He's one of the most beautiful male lions I've ever seen.
Big and confident. You know, the only way actually to tell one lion from another lion is with these whisker spots, which you can see on the face here. You see around the nose, she's got many little spots over.
Very interesting. I think we have a new viewer called Quincy Smith, or perhaps Quincy, this is your first time to send through a question. Quincy, we'd love to know where you are. You've just tweeted from somewhere in the universe, and we'd love to know which part of the universe that is, more specifically which part of planet Earth. And you want to know, are lions always this calm around vehicles or around people? Quincy, the difference is between people and between vehicles. On foot, they wouldn't be calm like this. If we arrived on foot, I suspect they'd disappear quite fast. They might, if they were particularly angry, give us a bit of a rev. By that I mean they might charge. Mating lions can be a little bit more, especially the males, can be a little bit more inclined to ward off disturbance, shall we say. And what they do, Quincy, is probably stand up and take a few steps forward and growl. And you've heard, I mean, that growl is absolutely blood-curdling. But I don't think that they would follow through on any kind of a charge. And Quincy, in the vehicles, and perhaps this is an interesting question for everybody, we can get pretty close to them. And once they have started to habituate to us, and lions don't take very long to habituate to vehicles at all. They don't, some people will tell you they don't see human beings in the back of the car. I don't believe that. I think they see us, but they just don't perceive us in the same way. They just don't see us as a threat like they would on foot. And Quincy, the big thing to remember about human beings in this area, and why tourism is such a successful, and why it's possible in an area of wild animals like this, is because the animals in Africa see us as the apex predator, and so their natural reaction to human beings is one of fear. They really can't decide what they want to do, these two. Look at him.
Just wanted to come a little bit closer, just to make you all feel If you think about it, how tall is his head? Eh? So when we get out the Land Cruiser later, stand next to the door, and you'll see that his head reaches my door.
Well, they're now growling at each other. That's lovely. Shall I pull in here, Andrew? I'm just going to move a little bit forward.
Okay, this one.
That's all right. You happy here?
Yeah.
We'll go with Andrew's desires. I'm just going to have a look with my powerful binoculars to see if I can see any form of injury. I can't see anything obvious. It might be in the nasal cavity, you know. There might be quite... Yeah, there's something bugging him there. You see that, Andrew?
Yeah.
Why don't you go... Yeah, why don't you just go in on his face there? There you can see he's consistently sort of twitching his nose up like that. Could be his eye, could be the nasal cavity, could be anything like that. Andrew, I am going to move a little bit, if you don't mind, just because there is another vehicle coming. We won't go far. It's all right. And if we can just get in on his face again, you can see how scarred he is. Now that's from a multitude of fights at kills. He's probably been swatted by the girls he's loved over the years, and he also, of course, have got a few of those from his fights when he managed to take over this territory with his coalition partner. So we've heard them growling at each other, and we've heard them, her certainly, when they got up just now, when he got up to come close to her, she started growling at him. And Ramey and Djuma, you want to know basically what signal will she give him to let him know that she's had enough. I think the signal she'll give him is firstly a growl, then it'll be a swat, and then she will just walk away. Now, she has to be fairly acquiescent for him to actually succeed in mating with her. So, I mean, if she moves, it's impossible for him to kind of do what he needs to do. So she will just simply stop lying down in front of him, and she'll walk off and probably join the rest of the pride. And I think that's going to, I mean, I might be wrong, but I really think that this frequency of their mating is definitely sort of tapering off. And certainly a week ago when we found them, she wasn't growling at him like that. What a beautiful picture that is of lion bliss here in the warmth of the sun. It's so warm that I'm going to have to put my sun hat on. Now, what is very interesting, of course, is that I'm now thoroughly confused about the tracks of lions that we saw today. There was tracks of a single male lion around Treehouse Dam, which is about, say, 1 kilometer. The crow flies from here due east, and that can't be this guy, because I think he's been with her for the last week. I don't think he's left her side. Then there were tracks of 2 other males crossing to the south of the reserve with Brent at Twin Dams, which sounds a very grand area. It is in fact a cesspit at this stage. And So it's quite interesting to know who and what is going on here. So the basic breakdown of male lions should be him and his coalition partner, you've in the Twitterverse have named Ginger, and this chap is called Hairy Belly, I think, because he's got a hairy belly. But the tracks of the other two crossing out of here is very interesting to me. I don't know who they would be or where they would have come from, so I'll get an update from Brent at some stage and see what he thinks. But these guys, I think, came from Arethusa. As far as I'm aware, they came directly from Arethusa. And Arethusa is just behind us. Basically, we drove, you saw all the signs there, and those signs there on the road were the entrance area. And they've been circling around here. They were on a little place called Knobthorne. Thank you for that, Andrew. Andrew just making clear that you understand exactly where we are in the world. They were on an area called Knobthorne, which is not far from here, yesterday. Andrew does like to keep everyone informed. And you can just see his face still continuously twitching away there. And I can't see any obvious facial injury at all, so I don't think it's one of those. And just an update from Morning Glory and Diane, who have been watching since December. Welcome again, and thank you for your comment. You just say that he's been doing it since you've been watching him in December. So clearly not something that's affecting him too badly. It might just be a twitch, you know. But I think it's probably something in his nose. It's quite amusing when you watch it for a while. One wonders if it isn't perhaps a habit of some sort. You know, sometimes people get these habits where their faces twitch and contort. Might be something like that. I don't think it's causing him too much discomfort though. So it's got pretty warm pretty fast out here. And I mean, I think the temperature is probably hovering towards the 20-degree mark already, and there's a very nice warm breeze blowing through here. Isn't it nice, Andrew? See? It feels like it's 10 o'clock in the morning already, but it clearly isn't. And that's why the lions are so completely at peace. He's still aware, and he's only aware like this because of the fact that they have been mating. I'm just going to get an update on the radio. I do see another vehicle some way down the road there, and they don't seem to be coming closer, so I wonder if they don't have something exciting that we might like to go and see. So stand by. Station on Triple M south of Arethusa, Gary Main Junction coming. What have you got there? Whatty? Sorry, go again? Copy, thanks. How many stations there? I shouldn't get in here there. That's why. Sorry, my radio is playing up. How many stations? Right, copy that. I'm on my way. Everybody, I don't suppose you'd like to see a leopard and her cub, would you? And
yes.
Would you like to see a leopard and her cub? Okay. No. Once we've... Alright, everybody, I am really excited. It's Shadow and Sindile just down the road there, and we're going to go and have a look. What a morning! So this kind fellow has said he'll trade me his leopards for our lions, which I think is an excellent trade. We've had a wonderful time with the lions. Thank you.
Okay.
How are you?
Good. You see the big Djuma man on the left
Yes.
side?
Okay. Thank you very much. Enjoy. So, chaps, see this now, lions. You are magnificent, but we do want to see the leopard as well. Just up here, big termite mound on the left. And what's interesting is that they are not on a reserve that we're allowed to traverse. So we can't go on here, but the leopard is just close by. So we'll be able to see her from here. I think this big termite mound there, Andrew. I think it's this one. Maybe the next one. Please don't have moved. I don't see them. Oh no. I think they might have moved, you know.
Wait, I think so.
You got them? Oh, brilliant. There they are. Well spotted, Andrew. There is little Sindile. So we're not going to get a great view, everybody, but we will be able to see them. And doing what this little family of leopards does best, they love to sit on termite mounds. I've seen them so often there. There we go. Isn't that great? I mean, it's not the best sighting we've ever had of this magnificent little pair, but it is nice to see. And this is what they like to do. These two, Shadow, for those of you who don't know, Shadow is a female leopard we see quite often, and Sindile is her little cub. Well, he's not so little anymore, he's almost a year old. I think that's him that we're looking at now. And the two of them just show a propensity to sit on termite mounds. And the reason for that, of course, is that it gives them a nice vantage point from which to survey the surrounds. And these two have the habit of doing it. I haven't seen any other leopards do it the same amount, and it's quite a clever plan. I mean, they're not in any danger now, but it does give them the sort of height advantage that they need if danger should arise. So I'm afraid that's probably the best view we're going to get with them sitting here. So we'll just sit here for a little while, and then we'll pop back to the lions and see how they're doing. It would be very nice if she turned round, or he turned round. And Sindile, for those of you who don't know, is a year-old male cub. I think that's the female or the male, Andrew? I think that's Mrs.
You think it's Mrs.?
I might be wrong. No, ears look pretty intact.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Master, sorry. Young boy. I think his mum is around here somewhere. She quite often leaves him. I've seen him on this termite mound twice before. and she quite often leaves him when she goes off hunting, and she quite often leaves him right where he is now.